Congress. Hell yeah.
All right. So I am definitely redlining.
Am I redlining?
No, not really.
Am I redlining now?
Yes, definitely.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Krabs?
Yes, we can hear Mr. Krabs.
All right, so I'll put it right there. Mr.
I think
Krabs.
that's pretty fair. And then I could back mine
This is
up
more
some
wobbly than usual. What's wrong with it?
Is it on the wire down there on yours maybe? No.
Here, let's maybe scoot this accordingly. Does that not seem wobbly?
It's super wobbly.
Maybe just spin it in a circle. Maybe the bottom is not even. You feel me? All right, let's wobble.
Got a little
Genius. That's what they taught me in school. Wobble with me. Wobble with me. I hate that fucking song.
That is a terrible song.
Get in there. Yeah.
Which way is it?
I don't either way. I mean, that's a lot better.
It seems like honestly pretty sturdy.
Yeah, we're good. We're Gucci Mane. I had a big Gucci Mane stage.
Gucci Mane was fine. I didn't do a lot of Gucci Mane.
Oh, it's the same song over and over again. It's just Atlanta trap rap.
Did you see the news of ASAP Rocky?
I mean, dude, he's always in the shenanigans.
Oh, dude, it was not shenanigans. There's like it's crazy
murder
stuff.
shot
Yeah,
or something like that.
But
didn't he get stuck in France?
Yeah, he was stuck in France for a while. It's weird, dude.
Didn't Trump get him out? Didn't Trump save him?
Trump saved many. Saved LaMelo or LiAngelo,
yeah,
one of
dude.
the Ball brothers.
Yeah, he got one of them, and then don't see Biden saving any Americans.
All right, we're not probably going to cut this political part, right? We'll see. Whatever.
You act like every person in the world hasn't argued politics.
I'm still on the red. No, I'm not now.
I mean, we got to see what it sounds like outside.
We'll see what it sounds when we start listening at. Yeah, dude, it was weird. I was like reading the article. It said like it was like a gunfight, or like a fight that escalated to the point of that, and then like there was investigators that went to his house and left with like a box of stuff, like evidence, I guess you would say. I was like, oh my.
Yeah, he probably was involved, and he's a rich person, and he's probably going to get off.
To me. That's what I said to my mom. I was like, it's crazy that you're doing this stuff. Like,
it's not crazy to me.
At that point,
it's not crazy to me.
It's just like you leave that behind, so you don't have to worry about it. Don't have to worry about getting
Sports related. I saw an Instagram post of like 5 players that throw up gang signs, and so it was John Wall. John Wall is very noted. I've said it on pod before. I actually read in the comments that the gang realized that he had actual talent, so they like left him alone. And they were like, because he wanted to be like a big part of the Bloods or whatever he's in. I don't fucking know. But he wanted to be a big part, and then they basically said, no, bro, you're a bucket. Go get 150 million or whatever he makes. He makes like 55 million a year.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he has a good contract.
And he doesn't play. And then like, so it was him and then Anthony Davis, and then it was James Harden. Might have been it in that little real Instagram video, but it may have been a couple other guys.
Didn't know about any of that. That is,
Russell Westbrook, he always does the Crip stuff. He even said 2020. You know what that means? It's like 60th Street.
I did not
West
know
Side
about
Crips.
any of this.
Oh, come on, man! I am not gonna throw up gang signs.
I was gonna say we're not about that. Listen, I may do the little Kyrie, a little middle finger behind the head to you or something, but depends on what you say to me.
Yeah, but
it takes a lot to get on.
Russell Westbrook, it's not even like someone thought he said anything. He's just dribbling across half court saying he's doing it for the Crips out. I mean, what's his name? Well, Nipsey Hussle died. It was literally cool to promote Crip stuff. Like it was literally like the hip thing to do was sing Nipsey and sing about Crips. I mean, that's what Snoop Dogg does all the time. So, I mean, we make light of a heavy subject and have, big communities of crime, but we make very light of it because, that's the subject matter of music today.
Music, man. Well, ASAP Rocky updates of life. There you go. That's what it is.
I don't give a shit. Jake in the Carolinas.
All right. So, we'll get right into the Upstate update at this point. Might as well, Zach. we could start at the Triumph, or do you want to start with the Mega Panther news that Daniel is absolutely behind on, apparently?
Dan has no idea, so tell me all about the Triumph.
So the Triumph did the Raleigh trip this past weekend. It was a good time. So that actually is why we're posting something a little later on. The last thing we posted was right before the Hawks Hornets play-in game, and then now we're in the playoffs, but we'll get to that point here shortly. So for the Triumph, the road game, NCFC, they get a point, which was really needed in the idea of the table, because at this point, Triumph still sitting bottom table, 1 point with that draw, but it's a long season. We've talked about that already. We'll get deeper into it. And we do have the next home game, next game for the regular season Saturday, playing Tormenta. So hopefully we can get a win there. You need to win the home games from now on. I would say you really obviously aren't going to go undefeated at home like we did the 2020 pandemic season when we did that. We probably won't repeat that again like you typically would expect. Nobody can typically do, but still want to win most home games, get points out of it. So want 3 points, especially with where we're at in the table right now. You really want 3 points. So we'll see. And then we also get a week off, which is much needed after the masterful, wonderful game we had last night, Greenville, South Carolina, the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. There's many. Dude, I did not know about this. Shout out my guy Lamar.
Trophy?
There's a trophy, yeah. So the Open Cup, U.S. Open Cup, is back. We were talking about at one point in the Triumph. We talked about the Triumph winning their first round game against Oakland Roots and getting into the second round, or I guess it was third. So we moved on to the third round. We drew Charlotte FC and happened to draw them at home. And so we hosted an MLS team that is absolutely fantastic. There was probably, I think, 4 or 5 other USL League One teams to host MLS teams, including Union, who won, Fuego, who I do believe won. There's a few others, Chattanooga, they lost, Tormenta lost in theirs, but so you had a lot of USL, but there was multiple USL League teams that moved on in the Open Cup, but the Triumph are not one of them. Last night, in front of record crowd, 4,064 people. Sellout crowd. It was fantastic. It looked really good too, man. If you go back and watch the highlights, you can probably see them on YouTube. The highlights look really good with the crowd packed in there. It looks fantastic. Charlotte FC brought a host of people like you expect the MLS teams to do. And they were rowdy, man. It was very, very fun. It was like a dueling fan section situation, and I enjoyed it a lot. Triumph lost 2-1, but they push it to extra time, go 120. And really, outside of the 2 goals, this is something I sort of noticed with the Triumph so far through 4 games that we played Open Cup and regular seasons, that we're going to be tough to score on, which means just like most of the time, if we're getting scored on, it's going to be absolute banger most of the time, or just like you're going to have to play it hard. And so they got one that was like a cheeky cleanup off a Paul mishandle of a little back heel. It was very clever. And then the last one that gave them the lead, I think it was in the first half of extra time, was just sort of breakdown. They broke down the defense pretty well and then got a good little through ball that just happened to find the back of the net. The Triumph's goal, Jake, had a banger. It looked fantastic. Great goal. I didn't get to see it live. I watched it on the stream because we were in line for Poppy's Tacos, which were fantastic and worth it, but did miss that. It's tough to miss it, but at the same time, I was happy with what we put out there. I think the Triumph made a massive statement to the soccer community. I think we made a massive statement as a fan base, showing up that we were loud and proud until the end, even when we knew had that feeling. And then there was the last second corner that potentially had the chance, and so it got hyped up again. And I think we really did show the soccer community that we're the Triumph are a legitimate soccer program and soccer club that are, and we at least, we definitely have proven ourselves to the USL League One, being in the final each year. And
I mean, yeah, no question there, but it's still, sucks to take the L in front of everybody, but it's great to pack the house. It shows good, especially with the rumblings of a stadium being built and being canceled. You've shown that, at least locally, that you can draw a big crowd, or at least you can draw people to fill a bigger space than what we have now.
And that shows we're gonna be an Open Cup team probably most of the time. I would assume it's typically based on how you play the previous year and stuff. And so I assume we're gonna be making the Open Cup in a fair number of years. And so I do expect to see us back there again at some point. I expect us to be able to keep doing what we're doing with the consistency. This team definitely needs to get healthy. Defensively, we have very few subs for defenders. We're banged up in the midfield. And this Saturday we are going to be gassed after that 120. And you had multiple players who played just straight 120 and came off playing the NCFC game Saturday night. But you still got to go out and try to get the 3 points. You really want those 3 points. So Greenville triumph. I'm very proud of them. I'm still very salty about it, but I will be cheering for other USL League One teams to do well in the Open Cup, even though every time it will make me a little more sad.
Yeah, speaking of sad, the playoffs in the NBA, it is. I'm gonna be honest with you. Hornets get eliminated, and my interest really goes downhill pretty quickly. It's. Obviously it's first round still, and I'm following box scores and that type of jazz. But haven't said that in a while.
Type of jazz.
But the Hornets got embarrassed once again. 2 years in a row we've been embarrassed. Indiana, which was a bad team last year, embarrassed us on national TV. Atlanta, which is proving to be a first round. You're playing the best team. You're playing the Heat, so it's hard for me to say you're getting embarrassed because you're not really, but you're losing handily both games. And Trae Young had a horrible game 1. Trae Young had 25 points game 2, but it wasn't the best percentage shooting. And really, outside of Steph Curry, what point guard is carrying you as the primary scorer to the finals? Kyrie, the guy who never plays, because he's not. Kevin Durant's carrying you all season.
And they're down 2-0 right now.
And exactly, just to prove the point further, Steph Curry surrounded by a great player. The Warriors are obviously, we're getting kind of out of context here. We need to bring it back into Charlotte and Atlanta.
Yeah.
But relating back to Atlanta, Trae Young's great. Trae Young could go for 45. And honestly, I think Clint Capella is a little underrated nationally. I think Clint Capella, he's literally one of the close to the league leaders in rebounds every year. Finishing at the rim is not a problem. But at this day and age, if Clint Capella is your 2, are you really that good? And Bogdan's not your 2. Clint Capella is better than Bogdan. And, you got Danilo on his last legs shooting mid-rangers because he's from a different day and age. And, DeAndre Hunter's good, but DeAndre Hunter is not a set number 2 player either. He's not a number 3 player. And he might even be a top 5 player. He may be a guy who needs to be your 6 man.
I think DeAndre Hunter has the future potential, defensively.
Well, we're not talking about future. We're talking about right now.
That man, he's done it in the playoffs. So he had 16 and a quarter against the Cavs. That pretty much sunk that
we're talking
game.
about the Cavs,
and
we're talking about the Miami Heat. You're playing number 1 right now. I don't care.
I don't care about playing. He's absolutely been the 3rd best player in the series for the Hawks. So
yeah,
far.
The series you're down 0-2.
I respect what you're saying, Zach. But you're saying, where's the points coming from? You're trying to downplay DeAndre Hunter like he's not a scorer. That man is a scorer, and he is a defensive menace.
That doesn't matter because the Heat have 4 defensive menaces. They're all just as
so. So what you're saying is
you're outman and outmatched.
I get that, but
you still embarrass my team.
To say the Hawks don't have good players because the Heat have better players.
I'm not saying they don't have good
all.
players. I'm saying your best player is a 6 foot tall point guard on a good day. And if you shut him down, which every team will do when they actually play defense in the playoffs, y'all went on a magical run.
That's what my problem is. It doesn't work, except for this exact formula worked last year.
But
when Clint Capella was healthy.
Conference you've had
that's
in
fair.
10 years.
That's fair. We didn't play the Heat. The Heat also got swept by the Bucks in the first round last year. So we also are praising the Heat team that Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin and
I'm not talking about those
these
players.
guys.
I'm talking
Matt
about Jimmy
Strus.
Butler, Victor Oladipo, Bam Adebayo,
Victor
Tyler
Oladipo
Hero.
has played 0 minutes in this series. He's been useless. Bam Adebayo last game played total like 12 minutes and had 3 points because he was in foul trouble all game. The only reason they won is because the Hawks, at no point said, stop letting Jimmy Butler get buckets at the rim because we didn't have Capella to keep the rim safe. Okongwu is not an acceptable person to keep the rim safe like we need.
Yeah, but
not
you're
the
proving
same.
my point.
Not saying
you
with
lost,
John Collins.
You lost Capella, who's your second best player.
Exactly.
Which that's not.
And I do.
I honestly need to go back and see. I guess Trae Young did that well last year. Did he literally carry y'all to the Eastern Conference?
Yes. There was many. He probably averaged like 28 points.
But look at the Hornets. Y'all literally embarrassed us. It's the Upstate. So you literally embarrassed us by 30 points on national TV. The Hornets were 43 and 38 on the season, 39 on the season. We're 5 games above 500. Look at the West. They're 8 seed and 9 seed, 10 seed. We're sub 500. It's literally. This is the top 10 teams in the East were 500 plus. Maybe there's not the superstar crazy. Maybe you just undervalue Jimmy Butler as a superstar on the Heat. But as a whole, the Heat has 8 names in a row that are better than the second best player on the Hornets because Gordon Hayward doesn't play.
I believe that Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler,
Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Tyler Hero, those are old.
See, but my thing is with Tyler Hero, Duncan
they have
Robinson,
a championship lineup.
those two players are the same premise as Kevin Huerter and Bogdan Bogdanović. You can be like, oh, they're fantastic because one game Bogdan goes off for 20 points or whatever in the last game for us and keeps us in the game somewhat. But in reality, Bogdan's not going to do that every night. Just like Tyler Hero's not going to sink buckets every night. Duncan Robinson was a starter, lost his starting job because Spoelstra said, listen, bud, you ain't making shots and we're not
putting you out
in
game 1.
And then he came out game 1. He shot great. Guess what he did game 2?
It doesn't matter.
He didn't play at all. He lost his minutes to Max Strus and Gabe Vincent because that's what they're willing to do. The Heat have players that they're willing to just go, okay, you're having a good night. We're going to let you play. And for some reason, the Hawks didn't just go stop Jimmy Butler. That's what I was stumped. At what point you go 35 points? Okay, so we're just going to keep letting him go to the bucket. We're going to foul him when he goes up, and then he's going to get an and one. What are you doing, man? Stop the man from going to the bucket.
You can't for a couple of reasons, and this is where it sucks for you as a Hawks fan because y'all are more successful than the Hornets. Tough. But you're in the same problem the Hornets were a couple years ago. Kemba Walker. Contract expiring. He's our best player. Kemba Walker dropped 60 in a game, everybody. 60. Man goes bonkers, crosses you up, can shoot, can finish at the rim. But the problem is, with Trae Young being 6 foot, Kemba Walker's 5'10". That's why there's hope with LaMelo. He's 6'8", 6'9". You can't have your primary ball handler. Your closer cannot be 6 foot tall. Your closer cannot be 6 foot tall because if you get double teamed on the 3-point line, you have to be able to make a move and drive to the basket with 2 seconds on the clock and finish something at the rim with their tallest guy trying to block you. Kemba Walker, I love you, dude. You've made some crazy layups. You won us some games. You hit some 3-point winners. Way too many times, the game would be in Kemba Walker's hand, and he would have to go down the court to the basket, and he would blow a layup, and he wouldn't get the offensive rebound, or he would get blocked, or he'd get literally tossed out of bounds because it's hard for the ref to make that call at the end of the game. Is it a foul or not with no time left to shoot free throws to decide a game? And the thing is, you just couldn't depend on Kemba Walker to win you games. And that's why we didn't max him out, and we let him walk to New York and then injuries, unfortunately. And you signed Gordon Hayward, and now you have a small forward who's your closer. And you saw it with Gordon Hayward not being hurt. He can drive to the rack and win you games with layups. Jimmy Butler, small forward, 6'6", 6'7", athletic. He can get over people, finish at the rim. That's why you can't stop him, because he was making shots, which he doesn't do. And then he's good at finishing at the rack.
Well,
and Trae Young, it's just like Kemba. If you're not making threes and you have to drive to the rack and they're going to just what's going to happen when Bam Adebayo says, you could come make a floater on me, Trae Young?
Bro, that's what I'm saying. The last game, Bam Adebayo is not relevant. He was useless to the Heat. He did nothing for them because he's a foul trouble player. He's always in foul trouble. He's just like Cat. always is
I
foul
said
trouble.
he was overpaid, dude. I said he was overpaid.
You did.
Long time
and
ago.
you called me out on it.
Long
And
time
I believe
ago.
you. I do believe it. Bam Adebayo, he's a good player. He's fine.
Overrated.
But absolutely fouls out. And like it's same as Cat. Cat would be great if he could stay on the floor. If you go back to we'll get to it because I do want to talk the Timberwolves. But with the Hawks, man, I will say I don't think the Hawks are done. Like the Hawks are going back home. I think if Clint Capella can
Atlanta's
get back in
crazy,
the
too.
lineup, I think if they're crazy, they can go off all of a sudden. And I think the 3-pointers that because Trey's been 0 for 17 on 3-pointers. Gallo went 0 for 7 last game. Like that's not going to happen when you're at home. You know, like you're going to hit buckets. But I also don't think Jimmy Butler's going to drop another 45 on us because Jimmy Butler, he was hitting 3-pointers that he never hits.
Because it's playoff Jimmy.
Because I don't.
It's just playoff Rondo.
I just don't know, man.
Rondo can't shoot either.
We'll see.
Playoff Rondo can.
Talk to me after game 3, maybe game 4, depending on when we record next. But I totally believe the Hawks can get back to the Heat's arena, to AAA, with the series tied 2-2. I believe it. If Clint can get back and we can get back to doing what the Hawks do and actually making buckets, like Kevin Huerter's been broke as hell. Like nobody can hit a 3.
But you're depending on Kevin Huerter to contribute, man. Like
Zach,
Kevin,
this is the same man who Red Velvet was money last year in the
if your nickname's Red Velvet, dude, you're not winning.
I'm just
you
saying
can't depend on him to win a title.
he was money. Bogdan was money. Gallo was money last year. Like that's my thing is this is the same team. And that's why I thought it was so strange that the regular season didn't play out as well as it could have because they were not a good team and I thought it was strange. I thought they were going to be good, but I do believe this is a team, and I'm eating my words slightly, but I think they're made for playoff basketball. We went into these play-in games where it was one game and like you have Trae Young the ability to do what he did, and Trae Young didn't have a bad game.
Competition.
Trae Young didn't have a bad game last game either. Trae Young had like 25 points. I mean, he played well, but like overall, the Heat just were better off because they had Jimmy buckets going for 45, and like you're not going to beat that team when they go for 45 like that, you know. So,
but we had some mention a couple times. We mentioned the Hornets, mentioned the Hawks, mentioned Charlotte FC. So, speaking of Charlotte, Carolina Panthers, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
I do not. I have no clue.
All right. So, Rock Hill is right across the border from Charlotte in South Carolina. You notice the Panthers are stationed in Charlotte. Dan, where is Charlotte? What state is that in?
That's in North Carolina.
Exactly. But what do we call them?
The Carolina Panthers.
Always rub South Carolina people the wrong way. We accept it as our team. We really wish we had something going on here. But anyways, North Carolina Panthers, they signed a deal. David Tepper and the city of Rock Hill signed a deal to build the Panthers practice facility and headquarters. So they're building this big old megaplex. There's already big steel iron rods. Beams is a good word.
We like beams.
Beams is a good word. Shooting into the sky. It's shaped like the Panthers logo. Like the whole front of the building, it's kind of got that geometry going on. And,
what? That's crazy.
I mean, dude, SoFi Stadium's the shape of the wrong Rams logo.
That's fair. That is fully. That's the best part.
But
wrong Rams logo.
But anyways, Panthers. They've agreed. David Tepper and the city of Rock Hill agreed to build a stadium, and they're working on it. And it's halfway through construction, so it was revealed yesterday. Deal's off.
Oh. Mid-construction.
No deal. So
how we no
So
deal?
Everyone's overreacting, and they're like, "Oh my God, the Panthers are pulling out of South Carolina!" Oh my God! No, it's all about money, and they're not pulling out. They start building a megaplex that looks like a panther with beams. We talk about this.
There's beams.
Steel beams, and they're not straight up. They're in an angle.
They're useless other than this one thing.
But there's like it kind of looks like Top Golf right now. It looks like there's like. You know how Top Golf is like
levels.
3 stories tall, but on the other side it's open.
Yeah,
it kind of looks like it's at the Top Golf stage of construction. And
so incomplete.
Anyways, disagreements, contract off. That it's just leverage for negotiations, basically. So the way I understand it, how stadiums get built and practice facilities get built, especially in local communities, because I mean it really benefits Rock Hill to have your Panthers located there. You're going to have events. I mean, the players may even live near there. It's going to help the economy if it doesn't drain the economy, because local jurisdictions and teams agree to a financial amount. Let's use $500 million. I don't know if that's anywhere close.
Yeah.
But let's use $500 million. So $250 million is going to come from the owner. $250 million is going to come from the taxpayer or the city. And people love their sports. They don't like paying unwillingly through taxes to pay for facilities. But, whatever. It's been going on for 100 years.
It literally happens all the
It's been
time.
going on for 100 years. But so the big problem here is the way construction works, and I went through this with my brother and his wife. They're flipping a house. So a construction loan, you may agree at the beginning for, I'm going to complete this project for X amount of dollars. Let's say $100,000 for, well, we said $500 million. So $500 million is going to cost to build this bad boy. And but we don't get they don't give us a loan for $500 million on day one.
Yeah, you don't get all the money.
You finish projects like so.
Stages.
So part one is deforest the forest, because that's what humans do. Is tear down some trees,
They need them.
and then flatten the land, run plumbing and electrical. Let's say that's the step one, and that costs $50 million. Problem is, somebody's got to pay for that $50 million, either the owner or the taxpayer.
Now. Somebody has to pay it right now.
The negotiations going on are who's going to pay first.
Who's starting?
Because the owner's like,
Y'all.
they literally called off, we want the city to pay first. And the city's like, well, if we pay first, then you're probably not going to end up ever paying. So the city's like, no, you pay first, rich guy. So that's where we're at. And what's going to happen? And what's going to happen is they agreed to a dollar amount a year or 5 years ago. And now David Tepper wants that dollar amount that they agreed to be higher because the cost of everything went up. Because, oh my God, do you live in America and know what's going on?
Things are expensive.
Things are expensive. And we don't make any more money. And David Tepper does. So
That's about it, yeah.
I saw a stat. This is a good Upstate update. Just to give context to the Tepper versus city, just
The
inhabitants as a whole. In like 2008, the richest billionaire in America had like $54 billion, and the average income was $54,000, and minimum wage was $7.25. In the year 2022, so 14 years later, the richest billionaire in the country has $250 billion. The median income has went down to $53,000, and minimum wage is $7.25. So literally, the rich get richer, and the poor, we are getting poorer.
Zach bringing legitimate facts to you that are slightly sad.
Yeah, and it plays into this Tepper versus town thing. Screw you, Tepper.
Stop trying to take our money. Go like it.
First off, I get it. You're coming to South Carolina. Y'all practice at Wofford. Cool. We still don't care because you got billionaires trying to screw cities out of extra money. And maybe you're not screwing cities. Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. Maybe David Tepper is a nice guy. Doubt it. I don't know.
All I gotta say is David Tepper did not get to the point of being a owner of the Carolina Panthers by being a, everybody's champion and a nice guy, probably. I don't think that's how that really works out. I feel like you got to be a little cutthroat to get there. So I assume David Tepper is absolutely trying his dangest to not pay as much money as we, the taxpayers, are going to pay for that state, that complex or whatever it is. And like, man, this is something like you said, you see across sports where many taxpayers are always paying money into these stadiums. And the biggest issue with it is they build these facilities, and the same thing you see in like colleges where they build a facility, but then like 3 years later, they're like, oh, we need more money for newer facilities because this program has updated stuff and this now. So now this team has this. So when are the Panthers they're going to finish this building? And then in 3 years, they're going to be like, well, now we sort of need this extra facility for like pool relaxation and recovery stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. So who's paying first? And David Tepper's going to be like, y'all.
All of this just to sign Baker freaking Mayfield.
Oh, yeah. How do you feel about that?
Dude, I already don't like the Panthers. Your only saving grace was to get Deshaun Watson. But then there's some moral conflict with that. And you're gonna
go with Baker
You're gonna
Mayfield.
go Sam Darnold to promising me Deshaun to Baker Mayfield?
You want me to be a Panthers fan? David.
Dude, there's a reason I don't like the Panthers. And this is it. And it's the same reason I gave up my allegiance 15 years ago. It's because you traded every good player we freaking had.
Now he's trying to take my money.
And it's a different person.